The women's locker room at Naval Station Norfolk sits empty at 05:30 on a Tuesday morning. Steam still clings to the tile from the previous evening's showers. The fluorescent lights hum their steady mechanical song, and Marcus Webb pushes his cleaning cart through the door, moving with the practiced silence of a man who has learned to be invisible. At 42 years old, Marcus knows every inch of this base. He knows which tiles crack in winter, which lockers stick, which drains clog when it rains. He arrived here 6 years ago, trading combat boots for work boots, trading orders for quiet nods from officers who never quite see him. Most mornings, he prefers it that way. Invisible means uncomplicated. Invisible means he can do his work, collect his paycheck, and go home to his daughter without anyone asking questions he's not ready to answer. He props the door open with a rubber wedge, checks his watch, confirms the schedule. The female officer's locker room is supposed to be clear until 0600. He has 25 minutes to mop, restock towels, empty trash, and disappear before the morning PT crowd arrives. Marcus begins methodically. Trash first, then surfaces, then floors. He moves through the rows of lockers with the efficiency of someone who has cleaned 1,000 rooms just like this one. His hands work automatically while his mind drifts elsewhere, to the parent-teacher conference scheduled for tomorrow, to his daughter Maya's latest report card, all A's except for math, which she's working on, to the electric bill sitting unpaid on his kitchen counter. He's refilling the paper towel dispenser when he hears it. Footsteps, crisp, purposeful military footsteps, echoing in the corridor outside. Marcus freezes. His watch says 05:45. 15 minutes early. The door swings open before he can react. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Admiral Victoria Harrington steps through the doorway, gym bag slung over her shoulder, her expression already arranged into the focused intensity that has defined her 30-year career. At 51, she commands the East Coast naval operations with the kind of precision that makes junior officers straighten their spines when she enters a room. Her silver-streaked hair is pulled back in a regulation bun. Her workout clothes are crisp, navy blue with gold trim. Everything about her radiates control, order, authority. She stops when she sees Marcus. For a split second, they both freeze. Two people occupying a space where neither expected the other. Marcus recovers first, stepping back automatically. "Ma'am, I apologize. I was told the facility was clear until 0600. I'll clear out immediately." Victoria's eyes sweep across him, taking in the gray custodial uniform, the name stitched above the pocket, M. Webb. She recognizes him vaguely, the way officers recognize maintenance staff, as part of the infrastructure, necessary but not notable. "You have 15 minutes, she says curtly. "I'll use the shower at the far end. Stay on your side of the room." "Yes, ma'am." Marcus already has his cart turned, already moving toward the exit. But Victoria is faster. She's already walking toward the back row of lockers, already setting her bag down, already pulling her sweatshirt over her head with the unself-conscious efficiency of someone who has changed in locker rooms for 3 decades. Marcus keeps his eyes down, keeps moving. He'll skip the back section, finish what he can, and come back during the next shift rotation. It's not worth the awkwardness, not worth the potential complaint that could cost him this job. He's pushing his cart toward the door when Victoria's voice cuts through the room. "Webb." He stops, turns slightly. "Ma'am?" She's standing near the lockers, sweatshirt in hand, sports bra visible, and her gaze locked on something across the room. Her face has gone completely white. Marcus follows her stare and realizes with sinking dread what she's looking at. The mirror. The full-length mirror mounted on the wall beside the showers, reflecting his back where his uniform shirt has ridden up slightly from bending over the cart, reflecting the scars. They start at his left shoulder blade and cascade down his spine in irregular patterns, thick ridges of scar tissue that look like melted wax, like landscape carved by fire and shrapnel. Some are pale and old. Others are darker, angrier, the kind that never quite fade. They tell a story written in pain, in survival, in sacrifice that most people never ask about. Marcus yanks his shirt down immediately, jaw tight. "Apologies, ma'am, I'll—" "Stop." Victoria's voice is quiet but absolute. She takes a step closer, and for the first time since entering the room, her expression has shifted from authority to something else, something sharper, more focused. Recognition. She walks toward him slowly, deliberately, like someone approaching a ghost. Marcus stands frozen. He doesn't know what protocol demands here, doesn't know if he should leave, stay, apologize again. So he does what he's learned to do in uncomfortable situations. He waits. Victoria stops 3 feet away. Her eyes scan his face now, really looking at him for the first time. Not at the uniform, not at the job, at him. "Where did you serve?" she asks quietly. Marcus hesitates. "Ma'am, I'd rather not." "Where?" Her tone leaves no room for evasion. He exhales slowly. "Marines, 2nd Battalion, 7th Regiment, Afghanistan, 2011 to 2013. Victoria's breath catches, barely perceptible, but Marcus hears it, sees the flicker of something in her eyes. Shock? Grief? He's not sure. "Turn around," she says. "Ma'am, I don't think—" "That's an order." Marcus's body responds before his mind can protest. Years of conditioning, years of obeying orders, still buried deep in his bones. He turns slowly, lifts his shirt halfway up his back. The silence stretches long and awful. Then Victoria whispers, so quietly he almost doesn't hear it. "Helmand Province, fire-base whiskey." Marcus spins around, eyes wide. "How do you—" "Because I was there." Her voice shakes. "I was the battalion commander. I ordered the supply convoy that day. She stops, her hand rising to cover her mouth. "You're Marcus Webb." He stares at her. The world tilts slightly beneath his feet. "You were reported KIA," she continues, voice cracking. "Killed in action. The IED strike on Route Red. The entire convoy." Her voice breaks. "We recovered 4 bodies. We thought we recovered everyone." Marcus shakes his head slowly. "I wasn't KIA, ma'am. I was Medevast, burn unit in Germany for 8 months, then Walter Reed for another 6. But the official reports—" He pauses. "There was confusion, paperwork errors. By the time they corrected it, I'd already been discharged on medical." Victoria's face has gone from white to gray. She lowers herself onto the bench beside the lockers as though her legs can't hold her anymore. "You pulled 3 men out of that truck," she whispers. "Before it exploded. I read the witness statements. Corporal Hayes, Sergeant Kim, Private Donovan, they survived because of you." Marcus looks away. Anyone would have done the same. "No." Her voice is sharp now, fierce. "Not anyone. You ran into fire. You went back 3 times. The last time—" She gestures toward his back. "The truck exploded while you were still pulling Donovan clear." He doesn't respond. The memories are too close, too raw, even after all these years. The heat, the smoke, the screaming. The moment he realized his back was on fire and he couldn't stop, couldn't drop because Donovan was still trapped. Victoria stands abruptly, her hands shaking. "Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you come forward? Why are you—" She gestures around the locker room. "Why are you cleaning floors?" Marcus meets her eyes, and for the first time, there's something hard in his gaze, something that refuses to bend. "Because no one asked, ma'am. Because the VA said my benefits were under review for 3 years while I tried to find work. Because every job I applied for wanted experience I couldn't translate from military service. Because by the time I figured out how to survive in the civilian world, I had a daughter to feed and no time to fight bureaucracy. The words land like stones. Victoria's chest tightens. She remembers that day. Remember the casualty reports. Remember to write letters to families. Remembers the guilt that followed her for years, the questioning, the sleepless nights, wondering if she could have done something different. And all this time, Marcus Webb, the Marine who saved 3 lives, has been invisible, mopping floors, cleaning toilets, unrecognized. "This is wrong," she whispers. Marcus's jaw tightens. "With respect, ma'am, it's just life." "No." Victoria straightens, and something shifts in her expression. The shock gives way to something else. Resolve. The kind of resolve that has carried her through 3 decades of service. This is not just life. This is a failure, my failure. Marcus shakes his head. "You didn't fail anyone, Admiral. You did your job. I did mine. That's all." "That's not all." Her voice grows stronger. "You saved lives under my command. You were supposed to be honored, recognized, supported. Instead, you've been—" She stops, unable to finish the sentence. "Forgotten," Marcus thinks, but he doesn't say it. Victoria walks to her locker, pulls out her phone, and starts typing rapidly. Marcus watches, confused. "Ma'am, what are you doing?" "Fixing this," she says without looking up. "Starting now." "Admiral, please don't—" "Webb." She looks up, and her eyes are fierce. "You don't get to tell me not to do this. You saved 3 of my Marines. You nearly died doing it, and for 13 years you've been invisible. That ends today." Marcus opens his mouth to protest, but something in her expression stops him. This isn't the cold authority he saw when she first walked in. This is something different, something he recognizes from his years in service. A commander who has found a mission, and he knows from experience that once an officer locks onto a mission, nothing will stop them. Victoria finishes typing and looks up at him. "I'm calling an emergency meeting with the base commander and my senior staff. You're going to tell them your story, all of it." "Ma'am, I have a job to finish." "Your job just changed." Her tone leaves no room for argument. "From this moment forward, you're not cleaning this base. You're restoring honor to it." Marcus stares at her, a dozen emotions warring inside him. Fear, hope, disbelief, anger at the years lost, gratitude for the recognition, exhaustion at the thought of dragging it all back into the light. "I have a daughter," he says quietly. "If I lose this job—" "You won't." Victoria's voice softens. "I give you my word. Whatever happens, whatever comes next, you will not lose anything. You will only gain what you should have had all along." For a long moment they stand in the quiet locker room, surrounded by benches and lockers and the faint smell of chlorine from the pool next door. 2 veterans from different worlds, separated by rank and circumstance, now standing on the same side of a truth that has waited 13 years to surface. Finally, Marcus nods. "Okay." Victoria exhales, relief washing across her face. "Okay." She hesitates, then steps forward and does something that shatters every regulation, every protocol, every barrier of rank. She salutes him, not the crisp, formal salute of a superior officer, but the slow, deliberate salute of respect, of recognition, of apology. Marcus's breath catches. His hand rises instinctively, returning the salute with the precision of a Marine who has never forgotten how. They hold the moment, 2 warriors acknowledging each other across the years. Then Victoria lowers her hand. "Get your things. We have work to do." Marcus nods, his throat too tight to speak. As he pushes his cart toward the door, he glances back once. Victoria is already on her phone again, her voice commanding, authoritative, unstoppable. And for the first time in 13 years, Marcus Webb allows himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the world is about to see him again. The base commander's office sits on the third floor of the administration building, a space designed to project authority through mahogany furniture, framed commendations, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the naval yard. At 0700 hours, it's already filled with tension, thick enough to taste. Captain Raymond Foster stands behind his desk, arms crossed, his expression somewhere between confusion and irritation. At 56, he's a career officer who runs Naval Station Norfolk with the efficiency of a Swiss watch. He doesn't appreciate disruptions to his schedule, especially not at dawn and especially not with vague explanations. "Admiral Harrington," he says slowly, "you called an emergency meeting to discuss a custodial employee." Victoria stands near the window, still in her workout clothes, phone in hand, her posture rigid with purpose. "Not a custodial employee, Captain. A decorated combat veteran who was left behind by the system we're supposed to uphold." Foster's eyebrows rise. "I'm going to need more context than that." "You'll have it." Victoria checks her watch. "My senior staff should be arriving any minute. Webb is gathering his documentation." "Webb?" Foster pulls up something on his computer. "Marcus Webb. Hired 6 years ago through the civilian contractor program. Clean record. Consistent. Performance reviews." He looks up. "What am I missing?" "Everything," Victoria says quietly. The door opens. Commander Lisa Chen enters first, Victoria's executive officer, sharp-eyed and perpetually prepared for crisis. Behind her comes Lieutenant Commander David Park, operations officer, still buttoning his uniform jacket. Then Master Chief Patricia O'Brien, the senior enlisted advisor whose opinion carries weight, with everyone from seamen to admirals. They arrange themselves around the conference table, exchanging puzzled glances. "Admiral," Chen says carefully, "your message said this was urgent. What's the situation?" Before Victoria can answer, there's a soft knock. The door opens and Marcus Webb steps inside. He's changed out of his custodial uniform into civilian clothes, jeans, and a button-down shirt that's clean but worn at the collar. He carries a battered manila folder under one arm. His posture is straight, military, but his eyes carry the wariness of someone who has learned not to expect fairness from institutions. The room goes quiet. Foster studies Marcus with the assessing gaze of a man trained to read people. "Mr. Webb." "Captain." Marcus nods respectfully. Victoria gestures to an empty chair. "Please sit." Marcus hesitates, glancing at the officers arranged around the table. Every instinct tells him he doesn't belong here, that this room is for people who matter, not for men who mop floors. But Victoria's expression leaves no room for refusal. He sits. Victoria remains standing, positioning herself where everyone can see her. "What I'm about to tell you stays in this room until we decide how to proceed." "Understood." Nods around the table. She takes a breath. 13 years ago, I commanded a Marine battalion in Helmand Province. On August 7, 2011, I ordered a supply convoy along Route Red. That convoy was hit by an IED. 4 Marines were killed. 3 survived because one man ran into fire 3 separate times to pull them out. The room listens, rapt. That man was Corporal Marcus Webb. He sustained third-degree burns across 40% of his body. He was medevaced to Germany, then Walter Reed. He spent 14 months in hospitals and rehab. Victoria's voice tightens. And due to administrative errors during the chaos of that deployment, he was listed as KIA for 6 months before the records were corrected. By then, he'd been medically discharged. His benefits were frozen pending review, and he fell through every crack in the system we built to support veterans. Master Chief O'Brien leans forward. "Where is he now?" Victoria gestures toward Marcus. He's been cleaning our locker rooms for 6 years. The silence that follows is absolute. Foster's expression shifts from confusion to something harder to read. Shock, maybe, or shame. 6 years. 6 years, Victoria confirms, working night shifts, raising a daughter alone, invisible to everyone who walks past him every day. Chen's eyes have gone wide. Admiral, how did we not know? Because no one asked. Marcus's voice is quiet but steady. Because I'm just part of the cleaning crew, because people don't see janitors, they see obstacles in hallways. Park clears his throat. Mr. Webb, with all due respect, why didn't you identify yourself? Your service record should have been flagged when you applied. It was flagged, Marcus interrupts, as incomplete, dishonorably discharged pending review. It took me 3 years to get the VA to correct it, and by then I'd already learned that explaining myself just made people uncomfortable. So I stopped trying. O'Brien's jaw tightens. She's seen this before, too many times. Good sailors, good Marines, falling through bureaucratic cracks while the system moves on without them. Foster stands and walks around his desk, studying Marcus with new intensity. Do you have documentation? Marcus opens his manila folder and spreads papers across the table. Discharge papers, medical records, letters from the VA, some stamped approved, others stamped pending review, others simply ignored. A faded photograph of 4 Marines in desert fatigues, grinning at the camera, arms slung around each other's shoulders. Victoria picks up the photograph. Corporal Hayes, Sergeant Kim, Private Donovan. She looks at Marcus. Where are they now? Hayes is a lieutenant stationed in San Diego. Kim got out, works as an EMT in Baltimore. Donovan, Marcus's voice catches. Donovan didn't make it, took his own life in 2015. The weight of that settles over the room like lead. Chen reaches for one of the medical reports, scanning it quickly. Her face pales. 42% total body surface area burns. 17 surgeries, chronic pain syndrome. She looks up. You should have been medically retired with full benefits. Should have been, Marcus agrees. But the paperwork said I was KIA. Then it said I was AWOL. Then it said my discharge was under investigation. By the time they figured out I was just a guy who got hurt doing his job, the system had moved on. Foster picks up another document, a performance review from Marcus's current position. Your supervisor rates you as exceptional, reliable, thorough. He sets it down. You've been doing good work here. I do my best, sir. That's not the point. Foster's voice hardens, not with anger at Marcus, but at something larger. The point is that you should never have been in that position in the first place. Victoria crosses her arms. Which brings us to why we're here. Captain, I want a full review of Webb's case. I want every piece of paper that led to this situation on my desk by 1600 hours, and I want recommendations for how we fix it. Foster nods slowly. Agreed. But Admiral, this goes beyond our authority. Medical retirement, back pay, benefits restoration, those require going through channels at the Pentagon level. Then we go through those channels. Victoria's tone. Brooks, no argument. Starting today. Park raises a hand hesitantly. Admiral, I have to ask, what about his current employment? If we're reopening his military service record, his civilian contract might be affected. Marcus's stomach drops. This is what he feared. That dragging everything into the light would cost him the one stable thing he's managed to build. Victoria must see the fear flash across his face, because she responds immediately. Webb's current position remains secure. If anything, we'll be looking at how to better utilize his skills and experience on this base. Utilize how? Marcus asks carefully. That depends. Victoria pulls out a chair and sits across from him. her posture shifting from commanding officer to something more collaborative. Tell me about your daughter. The question catches him off guard. Maya, she's 13, 8th grade, wants to be an engineer. A faint smile crosses Victoria's face. Smart kid. Smarter than me, Marcus says, and there's pride in his voice, the kind that only parents carry. She's in advanced math, science competitions, the whole thing, but he hesitates. But what? Chen prompts gently. But she needs opportunities I can't always give her. Marcus's hands tighten around the folder. Summer programs, equipment for her projects, eventually college. I'm doing everything I can, but night shift custodial work doesn't exactly come with scholarship funds. O'Brien speaks up. Does she know about your service? Marcus nods. She knows I was a Marine, knows I got hurt, but she doesn't know the details, doesn't know about... He gestures vaguely. All of this. Why not? Park asks. Because she's a kid. She doesn't need to carry my damage. Marcus's voice is firm. She needs to focus on her future, not my past. Victoria studies him for a long moment. You're protecting her. That's my job. It's also our job. Victoria leans forward. Webb, your service matters. Your sacrifice matters. And if there's one thing I've learned in 30 years of wearing this uniform, it's that protecting people means more than just putting your body between them and danger. It means making sure they have the resources to thrive. Marcus looks at her, uncertain where this is going. Victoria continues. I want you to know that whatever we do next, whatever changes we make, Maya's future is part of the equation, not as charity, as restitution for what was owed to you all along. For the first time since entering the room, Marcus's composure cracks slightly. His eyes shine with emotion. He's too disciplined to let fall. I don't need charity, Admiral. Good, because I'm not offering it. Victoria's voice is steel wrapped in compassion. I'm offering justice. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Foster clears his throat. Admiral, what's the timeline here? Fast, Victoria says. I want the paperwork review completed within 48 hours. I want a meeting scheduled with Pentagon personnel by end of week. And I want a plan for how we acknowledge what happened here, publicly and properly. Publicly. Marcus's head snaps up. Admiral, I don't want attention. I just want... What you want and what you deserve are two different things, Victoria interrupts gently. And respectfully, Webb, you don't get to decide this alone. Because it's not just about you. It's about every veteran who's fallen through the cracks. It's about the 3 Marines whose lives you saved. It's about setting the standard for how we treat the people who serve. Marcus opens his mouth, then closes it. He knows she's right, even if every instinct screams at him to stay invisible. Chen pulls out her tablet. I'll start coordinating with Boopers and the VA. We'll need full service records, medical documentation, witness statements if we can locate them. Hayes and Kim, Marcus says quietly. Lieutenant Hayes and Sergeant Kim. They're the ones who can verify what happened. Victoria nods to Chen. Contact them. Priority. O'Brien speaks up. Admiral, permission to speak freely? Always, Master Chief. This is going to make waves. O'Brien's voice is steady but serious. When word gets out that we had a decorated combat veteran working as a janitor for 6 years, there will be questions. Hard questions about how we vet our contractors, how we support veterans, how this base operates. Good, Foster says firmly. Everyone turns to look at him. He meets their gazes evenly. Those questions should be asked, and we should have answers, because if Webb slipped through our cracks, how many others have? The room sits with that uncomfortable truth. Victoria stands. Then let's make sure this never happens again. Chen, coordinate with base HR. I want a review of every contractor employee with military service in their background. Park, draft a memo to all department heads about veteran identification and support. O'Brien, reach out to the veteran service organizations on base. Let them know we're taking this seriously. The officers nod, already mentally organizing their tasks. Victoria turns to Marcus. Webb, I need you to do something difficult. He tenses. Ma'am, I need you to trust us. Trust that we're going to do this right. Trust that you're not going to be punished for coming forward. Trust that your job, your daughter's future, all of it is secure. She pauses. Can you do that? Marcus looks around the table, at Foster's stern determination, at Chen's focused competence, at Park's earnest concern, at O'Brien's fierce protectiveness, the kind that comes from 3 decades of looking after sailors and Marines. He thinks about Maya, about the conversation he'll need to have with her tonight, about the fact that his carefully constructed invisibility is about to shatter. But he also thinks about Donovan, about Hayes and Kim, about all the nights he's woken up wondering if saving them was worth the pain, worth the scars, worth the years of struggle, and he realizes that maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop hiding. Yes, ma'am, he says quietly. I can do that. Victoria's expression softens with something that looks like relief. Good. Then let's get to work. The meeting breaks. Officers stand, gathering papers, exchanging quiet words. Foster approaches Marcus and extends his hand. Mr. Webb, you have my word. Whatever comes next, this base will do right by you. Marcus shakes his hand, surprised by the firmness of the grip, the sincerity in Foster's eyes. As the room empties, Victoria lingers. Webb, one more thing. He turns. Ma'am? Thank you. Her voice is quiet, stripped of rank and formality. For what you did 13 years ago, for Hayes, Kim, and Donovan, for serving when it cost you everything, and for giving me the chance to make this right. Marcus doesn't know what to say, so he does what Marines do. He nods once, sharp and respectful. Victoria returns the nod. Then she walks toward the door, pausing at the threshold. You're not invisible anymore, Webb. Get used to it. She leaves. Marcus stands alone in the conference room, surrounded by mahogany and authority and the weight of everything that just changed. He pulls out his phone and texts Maya. We need to talk tonight. Something good happened. Something important. Her reply comes seconds later. Dad, are you okay? He stares at the screen for a long moment before typing. Yeah, baby girl. For the first time in a long time. I think I am. The rest of the day unfolds with the controlled chaos of a military operation. Chen moves through base administration like a guided missile, pulling files, making calls, sending encrypted emails to Pentagon personnel offices. Park drafts and redrafts the department memo, each version sharper, more direct, more unflinching in its acknowledgement of failure. O'Brien walks the base, stopping in berthing areas and mess halls, talking to enlisted personnel with the easy authority of someone who's earned respect through decades of service. Word spreads quickly in the Navy, faster through the enlisted ranks than any official communication could travel. You hear about the janitor, the one who's actually a combat vet, pulled 3 guys out of a burning truck. Admiral recognized him. No shit. How long's he been here? 6 years. 6 years cleaning our heads while we walked right past him. The conversations ripple outward, carrying shame and anger and determination in equal measure. By noon, Marcus has been relocated to a small office in the administration building, a temporary space while everything gets sorted. It's barely more than a closet with a desk and a phone, but it has a window. That's more than he's had in years. Chen appears in the doorway, tablet in hand. Webb, I've got Lieutenant Hayes on video call. Are you ready? Marcus's heart pounds. Yeah, I'm ready. Chen sets up the tablet and steps out, giving him privacy. The screen flickers, then resolves into the face of a man Marcus hasn't seen in 13 years. Lieutenant David Hayes, older now, lines around his eyes that weren't there in Afghanistan but still recognizable, still alive. Jesus Christ, Hayes breathes. Webb! Hey, Hayes. Marcus's voice cracks slightly. They told me you were dead. We had a memorial. I spoke at it. Hayes's face contorts with emotion. How are you alive? Long story. Marcus manages a faint smile. How are you? Better than I should be. Hayes's eyes shine. Because of you. Webb, I have 2 kids now, a wife, a career. I wouldn't have any of that if you hadn't. He stops, overcome. You would have done the same. Maybe, but you did it first. Hayes leans closer to the camera. Kim's on his way. Called him as soon as the Admiral's office reached out. He's losing his mind right now, in a good way. They talk for 20 minutes. About Afghanistan, about the convoy, about the men they lost and the ones who made it home. About Hayes's kids, Kim's work as an EMT, about the memorial service that Marcus never knew happened. They named a training facility after you, Hayes says, at Camp Lejeune, Webb Hall, for leadership under fire. Marcus stares at the screen, stunned. They named a building after me? You're a legend, man. The Marine who ran into hell 3 times and came back every time. Hayes pauses. Except we thought you didn't come back. I came back, Marcus says quietly. Just not the way anyone expected. When the call ends, Marcus sits in the small office, staring at nothing, processing everything. He's not KIA. He's not forgotten. He's a legend with a building named after him, and he's been mopping floors. The absurdity of it would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. Victoria appears in the doorway. Chen told me about the call. Marcus nods, not trusting his voice. There's more. Victoria enters and closes the door. I just got off the phone with my contact at the Pentagon. They're fast-tracking your case. Medical review board in 2 weeks. If everything checks out, and it will, you'll be medically retired with full back pay and benefits. How much? Marcus asks, afraid to hope. 13 years of back pay, plus medical retirement at 70% disability, probably higher once they review your current condition. Victoria pulls out a notepad with figures. Conservatively, $250,000 in back pay, retirement income of approximately $4,000 per month, full medical coverage, education benefits that transfer to Maya. Marcus's vision blurs. That's more money than he's seen in his entire life. That's Maya's college. That's security. That's everything. Why are you doing this? He whispers. Victoria sits across from him. Because 13 years ago I gave an order that put you in harm's way, and when you responded with extraordinary courage, the system I represent failed you completely. I can't give you back those years, but I can make sure the rest of your life looks different. I don't need— Yes, you do. Victoria's voice is gentle but firm. Webb, you've been surviving for 13 years. It's time to start living. For you, for Maya, for every Marine who didn't make it home. They sit in silence for a moment, the weight of history and possibility hanging between them. Finally, Marcus nods. Okay, Victoria echoes. She stands. Go home. Be with your daughter. Tell her everything. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 0800. Marcus rises slowly. Admiral? Yes? Thank you for seeing me. Victoria's expression softens. You were always worth seeing, Marcus. We just weren't looking. As he leaves the building and walks toward the parking lot, Marcus feels the sun on his face differently than he has in years. Feels the weight lifting slowly, tentatively, like a wound finally beginning to heal. He pulls out his phone and calls Maya. Dad? Her voice is worried. What's going on? Something good, baby girl, something really good. I'll be home soon. We need to talk. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. Marcus's voice is steady, warm, certain. For the first time in a long time, there's nothing to be scared of. When he hangs up, he realizes he's smiling. Really smiling, not the careful, controlled expression he's worn like armor for years, but a genuine, unguarded smile. Across the base, in offices and barracks and workspaces, people are talking. About the janitor who was a hero, about the system that failed him, about what it means to serve, to sacrifice, to be invisible until someone finally looks. And in the Admiral's office, Victoria stares out the window at the naval yard, at the ships and sailors, an endless horizon, and makes herself a promise. This will never happen again. Not on her watch. Not to anyone. The ceremony takes place on the parade ground at 0900 on a crisp Friday morning. Every officer on base stands in formation. Enlisted personnel line the edges, silent and still. The flag snaps in the wind overhead. Marcus Webb stands at attention in his dress uniform, the one Victoria had delivered to his apartment 3 days ago. It fits perfectly, the Marine Corps emblem gleaming on the collar. Maya stands beside him in her best dress, gripping his hand so tightly her knuckles have gone white. 2 days ago, Marcus's former supervisor had tried to fire him, claiming breach of contract. The confrontation had been ugly, public, designed to humiliate. But Victoria had appeared like a force of nature, her voice cutting through the parking lot with absolute authority. This Marine saved 3 lives. Under my command. If you have a problem with that, take it up with me. The supervisor backed down immediately. Now Captain Foster steps forward, holding a framed citation for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his own life above and beyond the call of duty. The words carry across the parade ground, formal and powerful. Lieutenant Hayes and Sergeant Kim stand nearby, both having flown in specifically for this moment. Hayes wipes his eyes openly. Kim stands rigid, jaw tight with emotion. Victoria approaches Marcus, holding something wrapped in velvet. She unwraps it slowly, revealing a medal that gleams gold in the morning sun. The Navy Cross. For extraordinary heroism, Victoria says, her voice steady but thick with emotion. Corporal Marcus Webb repeatedly exposed himself to enemy fire to rescue fellow Marines. His actions embody the highest traditions of military service. She pins the medal to his chest with hands that tremble slightly, then she steps back and salutes, not the quick, perfunctory salute of protocol, but the slow, deliberate salute of profound respect. Every officer on the parade ground follows, hundreds of hands rising in unison, the entire base frozen in recognition of the man they had walked past for 6 years. Marcus returns the salute, tears streaming down his face, finally visible. Maya looks up at her father, seeing him truly for the first time, not as the tired man who worked nights, but as the hero who had always been there. Later, in the reception that follows, Hayes pulls Marcus into a fierce embrace. "You gave me my life back, now take yours." Victoria approaches as the crowd thins. "The Pentagon approved everything, full retirement, back pay, benefits, and I want you on my staff. Veteran liaison, help us make sure this never happens again." Marcus looks at Maya, who nods eagerly, then at Hayes and Kim, then at the medal on his chest. "Yes, ma'am," he says. "I'd be honored." Victoria smiles. "The honor is ours, Marcus. It always was." As the sun climbs higher, warming the parade ground, Marcus Webb stands surrounded by family chosen and found, no longer invisible, no longer forgotten, finally seen. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.